Hey students, how are you all? I hope you're all fit and fine at home. Once again, welcome back to another interesting session of the online English classes. Today's video is going to be a bit different because we're not going to continue with our discussion of the literature chapter Ice Cream Man. Instead, we are going to discuss about comprehension. Now, this is a word that you are very familiar with, right? But do you know what exactly does it mean? Let us see what is the meaning of the word comprehension. So, the word comprehension basically comes from the word comprehend. Comprehend is a verb which means to understand or grasp fully or thoroughly. So if you are given a passage, you have to read it. You not just have to read it, but you also have to understand every single word in it, every single meaning that the sentences want to convey. So that is what comprehend means. And from comprehend, we get the noun comprehension. As you already know, the word comprehension or the term comprehension can be used simultaneously with the word unseen passage as well. So what you know as comprehension is the same as unseen passage. Now that you know the meaning of the word comprehension and you also know how you have to define this particular term, let us have a look at some of the rules that are to be followed when you are reading a comprehension. So once you get a passage, how exactly you have to proceed, now we are going to discuss that. So the very first and the most important step while reading a comprehension is to read the passage carefully and thoroughly. So, whenever you see in exams that you have been given a passage to solve, this is the first thing that you need to do. You just have to read the passage, not once, not twice, if required thrice as well. Many students are in the habit of not reading the passage well and straight away they jump to the questions and then they try to find out the answers from the passage. They think it is going to save their time, but they are wrong. Always, no matter in which class you are studying, you always have to keep in mind that you first need to understand the meaning of the passage in front of you. After you have successfully completed the first step, next comes the second step or the second rule, which is to read the questions to check what you will be looking for. So what many students do in the very first step should be done in the second step. Okay, so once you have read the passage and once you have thoroughly grasped the meaning of the passage, next you have to move on to the questions. Okay, so all the questions that are given, go through those questions and then you have to find out their answers one by one. So once you have understood the passage well, if you're reading the questions, you'll definitely and easily you'll get the answers. Yes, so that is why it is always first needed to read the passage and then read the questions that have been given below the passage. After the second rule comes the third rule, where you have to reread the passage and try to locate where you will find the answers. So the very first step was to read the passage thoroughly, which was followed by reading the questions, and now comes the third step where you have to reread the passage. So once you have read the passage, you've understood the meaning, and now that you also know what questions you have to answer, what you have to do is you have to go through the passage once again. So once when you are going through the passage, what will happen? All the questions you have recently read, you will find their answers automatically. Yes, so this is the very easy way out to answer questions given in an unseen passage or a comprehension. Next comes the very important rule of writing answers in full sentences. Now students, This is something that you have to follow from the very beginning. Many students are in the habit of writing only one word answers for the questions of comprehension. Since the question carries 1 mark in most of the cases, the students consider that if they write only one word, it will be enough. Yes, maybe the main answer, the key word is in one word only, but still, you have to keep it in mind that you need to write the full sentence. Now, how you will write the full sentence? As you already know, we can write answers, we can frame answers from the question itself. Yes, so by taking help from the question and by adding the word that you have just now found, you need to frame a full sentence. Never ever write answers in one word, because in English, especially in English and all the literature subjects or the language subjects that you have, not just English but other subjects as well which deal with both literature and language, you need to follow this rule. Don't write one word answers. Always write answers in full sentences. After you have found the answer from the passage, next you have to write the answers in full sentences, right? So when you are doing that, make sure that you don't just copy sections from the passage. Instead, write in your own words. Students, when your teachers are evaluating your answers, they can easily understand what exactly have you done. So whether you have written the answer on your own or whether you have blindly copied the answer from the passage can be easily understood by the teachers. It is always good to be authentic, to be original in whatever you do. And in writing answers, it should reflect as well. Okay, so when you are writing the answers for the comprehension passage, for the questions of the comprehension passage, you have the idea in front of you, you have the complete frame of the answer in front of you, but don't copy that. Try to reframe it, try to write it in your own words, because if you do that, your answer looks original and it becomes authentic. After you have written your answers on your own and in full sentences, the next step is to take some time at the end of the test to check whether your answers are correct or not. Because you see, students, comprehension or unseen passages are questions where you have a very easy scope to get full marks. There is very less chance of losing marks. So you should utilize that. And after you have written down the answers, it is very important to ensure that all your answers are correct. It is something that should be done for all the questions, but more importantly for the reading section, because here you have a very less chance of losing marks. So after you have ensured that all your answers are correct and that your answers perfectly match to the questions that are given, you can be relaxed about not losing marks from the reading section. Now that we have gone through the rules and that we have discussed the rules in details, let us have a look at the kind of questions that you may come across when you are facing an unseen passage or a comprehension. So the very common type of a question that you get to see in unseen passages is the true-false question, where you have to assess whether the given statement is true or not, and based on that you have to write either true or false. Now students, you have to keep it in mind that just now I had said about writing the answers in full sentences. Now this is something which cannot be written in full sentences. This itself is a statement, the words true and false. So first, when you get a true and false question, you have to first read the sentence properly. You have to see whether it matches with the passage or not, whether the passage is also saying the same thing or not. Okay, and according to that, you have to write either T for true or F for false, or you can also write the full words true or false. Another very common type of a question is fill in the blanks. So this is very easy to solve. You are given a statement from the passage which you have to fill. Now it is an unfilled question. It is a sentence which has blanks in it. So you have to appropriately fill the blanks with correct answers from the passage. Sometimes these questions can be quite tricky. So it is very important to read the passage well and also understand each and every meaning hidden in the passage. Another very important question that you may come across while solving a comprehension is finding out synonyms or antonyms. So in these questions you are given words where you have to find either the similar meaning word or the opposite of that particular word from the passage. For this, you also need to know quite a lot about the synonyms and antonyms. Okay, so this is why maintaining a vocabulary copy is very important. Your stock of words should be so enriched that you do not face any problem in finding out the synonyms and antonyms. In some cases, you may also come across the multiple choice questions. Now, what exactly happens in these questions? In these questions, you are given 3 or 4. That means you are given multiple options from which you have to choose the correct answer. Now, once you have found out which is the correct option, you either have to put a tick mark on it or you have to encircle it. Alright students, with this we come to the end of our discussion on the topic comprehension. I hope you will keep these points in mind next time when you are solving an unseen passage or a comprehension. So, stay safe and goodbye.